Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you? I'm...
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote. This is the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from many and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this episode is someone who has appeared in our studios once before, but he is back. We're going to find out more about him, what he is passionate about, and what he has coming next. Please welcome indie filmmaker and, like myself, a Superman fan as well. Please welcome Chris Jones is in the building. Chris, welcome in, my friend. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me again. Congrats again on your show, success, audience, and it's awesome to be back, man.
No, we're very thankful and grateful, I should say, to have you here, Chris Jones. Now, if you have any questions for Chris Jones as we go throughout the course of this episode, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Our producers are going to be keeping an eye on it as we go throughout the course of this program. And also, if this is your first time here, welcome. And don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining us live or what is known as a replay, we thank you, especially for being with us. With that being said, Chris, what would you say were some of your favorite movies or TV series growing up?
Oh man, that's a big list, man. But no, you know what? I feel the easiest ones is it started with the whole He-Man cartoons, the original He-Man cartoons, and then from there it went into just kind of the classics, man. Karate Kid, Rocky, Terminator. I mean, just the big action heroes of the 80s and 90s. I was really big about the whole hero aspect and things, Superman, Christopher Reeve. I mean, that just, he was Superman, always will be Superman for me. And I feel like I just, I don't know. I think in those times, it's like, it wasn't, it wasn't like going to the movies today. I felt like, whether you're a fan or not, it was just the event that was happening in the world, the star, the spotlights and whoever that was or whatever movie that was. I mean, I was there, I was in it. And especially if it had that hero element. I mean, it was it was always an event for me, whether I saw it in the theater or I saw it on VHS, whatever it was. And that's what it was, man. It's like everything was an event for me at the time.
What would you say were some of your favorite comic books, past or present? You still reading comics now, or did you read them when you were a kid?
Actually, I've read a lot of the Superman comics recently. I really like Red Sun. But back in the day, I really didn't get into comics. I used to draw back in the day. I thought I didn't even know all this, movie stuff and YouTube stuff was going to be a thing. I used to draw a lot, and I thought that was going to be my career. And I got into drawing, just again, all the favorite, comic characters. I got really big into Ninja Turtles, and I started reading all of the comics at the time. And, they were a little darker, a little more edgier. And so I would draw them, and that's kind of how it started. And then once I kind of got into the, when I thought, okay, well, maybe I can try making my, shooting my own little clips and stuff, then the drawing just kind of, I stopped. So, I mean, I can sketch little things here and there, but yeah, it was more of a Ninja Turtle, Superman, that pretty comic wise.
Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Ah, man, I love Donatello mainly because of the weapon, the staff. But I guess I love Raphael, especially in the original movie, because just the darkness of it, man, that tone. I still watch it today. It's a lot of these movies, I have like memorized. I can, recite line for line, the music, everything. I just get into it so much, and I love that movie, man. That movie, it even makes me cry, man, when they're all in the when they got the fire going and the little splinter moment. Yeah, like it was powerful. It was drama, man. I felt like, again, it had the comedy and everything, but it was still a movie. It was still a story. And I love that movie, man. And so I guess I would have to say probably Raphael more because I love what they did with him in the movie.
Well, he was a teenager with attitude. That's
Yes.
yeah. Well, maybe I'll just take the attitude and leave.
And leave.
All right, yeah, get out
Yeah.
of here. We don't need you. Sorry, that's a line from
Yeah.
the original film right there. And it's funny you mentioned that because I can watch that film over and over again, never get tired of it. It's so rewatchable, so quotable. It's great,
Yes.
especially when you walk in to meet with your master after your first big debut, this big, this big fight in the dark in the alleyway, rescuing April O'Neil of all people. And he says, "I lost the sigh." Then it just goes, "No, I can get it back. I can get it back." Raphael, let it go.
Right.
This
Right.
man. Oh,
Yeah, and I relate. I kind of relate to those heroes or those moments because I wasn't a loud kid when I was young, or I didn't really get into trouble like that, or I wasn't as blunt. And so, but you still think it. You go through. Everybody goes through stuff, right? So, that I feel like that's why I would relate to those characters a lot because it's almost like they would kind of say the things that maybe I wanted to say at one point, but I just never did because I wasn't that person. But so they do it for me.
good point. Good point, man. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. TMNT. Love that movie. Love those characters.
Yes.
Never
Yeah,
gets old.
big
Never goes
time.
out of style. And actually, this year is actually the 40th anniversary of the TMNT property overall.
Wow. Well, one of the other reasons that I liked Donatello, especially in that movie, is because Ernie Jr. man played. He was in the suit,
Ernie
and
Reyes
I
Jr., yeah.
yes, and I love his technique, his martial arts, and that guy is always in amazing shape.
Yeah, he's a force. Yeah, he's a good guy too. I
Yeah.
actually met him once at a convention. He signed an 8x10 of his time on set working on Turtles 2 because he was Kino.
Dude, that's
He was
right. He
Kino
was
in
Kino.
Turtles
That's
2.
right, dude. Yeah, that's my favorite scene is when he's trying out for the foot.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
he's got to remove
Yeah,
all
dude. I
the
love that
bells
scene,
and
dude.
whistles
Yeah.
from that statue, and he says,
Yep.
"By the way, we work in concealment. What is it like 30? What did he say? Like 30 seconds?
30
I think he said
seconds.
30
Yeah.
or something like that. And he's like 30 seconds, go." And then
And
Raph
then
has to
boom.
come in and do it all for him, and then Kino's like, "Is this enough?"
Yeah.
It's got, I mean, oh gosh, and it's funny. Do you remember in that same, similar to that scene, before that, there's a group of them outside of the training facility, and the guy walks up and he says, "Okay, guys, listen up. All of you guys
Right.
have to take a little test." Did you notice that one of the people who was standing in that crowd alongside Ernie Reyes Jr. was Michael Jai White?
No, I didn't. I've seen
Know that?
pictures, but I haven't watched
Yeah.
it since I saw those pictures. And
He's in it.
Michael J. I feel like he's in all these interviews now, so I've been watching, keeping up with him, and he's another inspiration just because he's
Big guy.
maintained his health and physique this
Yeah.
entire time,
Big guy.
and it's like it's really amazing, man. Really inspiring.
Yeah, he's in that scene with Kino. So if you go back and watch it, he's there. Makes
Well,
a
I'm
cameo,
also
very quick cameo, but it's there.
I'm also a big horror fan, and I love watching. I show my daughter all the time. I'm like, look, there's like Leo DiCaprio or whatever, like all these
Johnny Depp.
big icons of art. Like Johnny Depp, they had their first
Mary on Wall Street.
yeah, dude, debuts in horror movies, man, and that's awesome. And again, what's inspiring for me, especially in relation to the production work and stuff that I do, is that everybody started somewhere. Everybody started, yeah, and it's awesome, man. And regardless of how big people are or stars or movies or whatever, it's like, hey man, it's just, yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody kind of we all share the same path in a sense.
Yeah, fair enough. And speaking of other actors and actresses who all have to start somewhere, which is a very true statement, by the way. You have people like Jennifer Aniston was in Leprechaun.
Yes.
And you got oh my gosh, I can't remember, it was Heather Locklear was in Swamp Thing or Swamp Thing Returns, one of those old school 80s
Yeah, dude.
B movie.
Well,
movies.
I think DiCaprio was Critters 3.
I think he was.
And
he
then
may have been, yeah. And then
and then I think
Elm Street.
And then I think Naomi Watts was Children of the Corn. I think it was 7 or 6, one of those. Dude, there's so many movies where you see all these actors. Angela Bassett was in Critters 4.
Oh my god.
So yeah, dude, and again, it's for me, I just love, I know it sounds, everybody's probably like, what? I didn't even know there was a 4. But again, man, I watch all kinds of movies for different reasons, and one of the as far as the, the horror movies, I really love the lighting and things like that. So that's really why I watch them. And
That's fair.
there's also a lot of good music in a lot of these movies, man.
A lot of filmmaking techniques that were displayed in a number of different movies, and also
Yes.
the '80s had some of the best soundtracks you're ever going to find in a motion picture.
Yes.
So
yeah, that yeah, man.
just
Definitely.
I mean, you go back and watch some of those movies, just listen to the soundtracks. They're epic. They're iconic.
Yep.
And you know what else is iconic is this great episode that you may be watching or listening to of And I Quote with Super Chris Jones, indie filmmaker extraordinaire, here on this episode. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Chris, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Really appreciate hearing from you. We appreciate you being here. Absolutely. With that being said, who would you say are some of your favorite filmmakers, past or present?
Filmmakers. So, the ones that really inspired me to, make movies, was, I've always had this thing where, like, if I see something, or if there's something in my world or life that, that matters or that I need to pay attention to, I don't know, for some reason, the world kind of slows down. I feel like I see things in slow motion sometimes. And I don't know what that is, if it's just a thought or whatever. But anyhow, John Woo is one of my favorite directors, because I was a big Van Damme fan growing up because of the martial arts and everything. And, there's that movie he did with John Woo, Hard Target. And I guess putting the two together, putting the slow motion with my favorite, martial arts action star, I saw something that I had never seen before. And I mean, there's a lot of slow motion in a lot of movies, but I feel like John Woo, he tells stories with the slow motion. And so I immediately, just kind of started playing with a lot of slow motion and things like that. And as far as like the overall look and feel, I'm a big fan of Michael Bay, because I love his color. I love the contrast. I love the saturation that he uses. And it's not necessarily that he's the best director. I just like his approach to things and shots. And so, I heard this from Jackie Chan one time, where he said, take what you like, or take the best from a lot of styles and create your own style. So that's what I do. And even from the horror movies and such, so I don't really have one like favorite. I have, favorite things that I take from all of them. And I just kind of have this, archive of like, okay, slow motion, John Woo, color, Michael Bay. But I love a lot of movies, man. It's really hard to, that's one of my favorite right there. The Rock, man. I love the music in that one too, man. And I feel like Michael Bay's always got a good, soundtrack to his productions. And that's another thing I really like. And I feel like he just moves with the music, the picture and everything. And, it's really hard to narrow it down to one, but those are the two right now, with my life today. It's the slow motion and the color and everything. To me, I kind of combine that with the storytelling, with my writing, with everything else. And I'm not really a writer. I don't like to put myself out there as a writer. I do write my own stuff, but it really comes from that first. I already know, what the shot's going to look like. I know where I'm going to use slow motion before I even write, dialogue. And so it's like, once I put that together in my head, then I'll start writing and everything. So for me, it all starts with, with the look, the music, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I kind of work backwards, but it's for that reason, because that's one of the main reasons why it maybe was grilled into my brain that way, was because, in the old days, we just had, VCRs. And so the camcorder that a buddy of mine, we'd make our little movies, was an old VHS, camcorder. And so the only way I could actually edit something was from VCR to VCR. And, back then it was either we talk on the tape, or I could dub some music over it. And of course, music is more interesting. So a lot of my earlier clips and little films were just music. They were like music videos. And so that's kind of where the sound came in. And it's like, it helped me kind of visualize everything first. And then we would, try to add something else later as the technology was available and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I feel like maybe that's why, maybe the process is because it was something that was just kind of forced from the beginning.
Wow. Well, without Michael Bay movies, I wouldn't know who Linkin Park is. So soundtrack, he goes back to the soundtrack.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. New Divide is one of my favorite Linkin Park songs. So thanks, Michael.
Oh, nice, man. Yeah, well, I mean, just you had the Rock, showing earlier. Like one of my favorite moments in that movie is just the opening credits. When Ed Harris is getting ready, and just all the different shots, and Michael Bay, there's always an American flag in
Yeah.
his movies or shots, and I've always enjoyed that too. And you actually see that a lot in Smallville too, right? And so,
Yeah,
but
man.
again, it's just finding these right moments to kind of, the framing and everything that Michael does, and the time of day. He loves using a lot of sunset, golden hour
A lot of light.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I love all that, and
Hmm.
it's just for being an indie filmmaker, or having no budget or whatever. It's like I try to do things that where I want to create, you know, just I try to do, I guess, what people would think is impossible, and then just to give it feels like a bigger movie, or like if I had a budget, or so I put a lot of time into that, into that, the slow motion, picture, color, yeah.
My goodness gracious, Michael Bay and all these other directors over here. It's amazing stuff. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing stuff. Uh, when did you decide to become an indie filmmaker? When did
I
it
was
hit you?
about 11. Yeah, I was about 11. I saw it was my introduction to Van Damme and everything, because I again, I feel like for us, I grew up, I'm born and raised in El Paso, and growing up, I thought movies were only for Hollywood, people with, you had to be a star. And so I thought, that's so silly or whatever. And anyhow, I was about 11, and I never took martial arts, but I enjoyed trying to practice it and this and that. And when I saw, Van Damme for the first time, I thought, wow, like I would love to make a movie someday and be like that or whatever, right? And but again, that's what kind of started the little home videos, but it was always kind of a secret, because if I tried to mention it to someone, everybody would laugh, or oh, that's you're crazy. And so again, I would just keep drawing, and I thought that was my career. And it wasn't until I was about I'd say I was about 20, 21, I walked into a Best Buy, and they had the Adobe Premiere software, and the title said something like, make your own movies from home. And it just, the way it was worded, the way it was displayed, I was like, well, why don't I do that? Like, why don't I just learn and try to do everything? So this is when computers were barely becoming a thing, right? So I saved up a little bit of money. I bought a little computer. I bought that software, that specific box, and and I started learning little by little. And I just thought, well, how about I'll just make my own movie, and hopefully somebody will see it. And at the time here in El Paso, I feel like there was only like 3 of us doing this stuff. And so that's kind of how it started, man. It was really more of a just chance, just kind of walking by, and because I was the way I grew up and everything around me, I just didn't know that was possible.
Good stuff, man. And there's nothing wrong with watching one of your first movie experiences. I think is a fair argument to make. Would be, John Woo's Hard Target. Nothing wrong with a guy wearing a trench coat who can still do the high kicks and whatnot. And also, you get a young, unknown at the time, Yancey Butler, who later on would
Yeah.
go to become Witchblade on TNT
Yeah.
for that TV series it was on in the early 2000s. So who'd have thunk, right? You got the muscles from Brussels and you get the futuristic Witchblade in the same movie at the same time.
Well, what made that more special was that, I had, because up until that point, Van Damme had already made a lot of movies. So all the movies I was watching on VHS.
Sure.
Well, Hard Target came out, I believe, in 95. That was the first, I'm sorry, not 95. I think it was like 1990 or 91. But that was the first Van Damme movie that I saw in the theater.
Wow.
And it just blew my mind, because I didn't even know who John Woo was.
Right.
And to be that my first theater experience, and then with the slow motion and John Woo, who's this guy, and just fast forward, when I realized that I really that I could make movies by myself, or that I could be who I wanted to be, was when John Woo did Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise. And the reason for that's my favorite Mission Impossible, and the reason for that is because up until then, Tom Cruise, I always envied people like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, because I thought, oh, they're the pretty boys of Hollywood, they're the big dramatic actors or whatever. And Tom Cruise, that was the first time you see him in a real action setting, and he's doing martial arts, and he's doing all these crazy stunts. And again, with that John Woo feel, it blew my mind, man. And that's when I had the realization of, like, what, I can do it too. And so yeah, Van Damme, Tom Cruise, I'm a big Cruise fan, to this day now. That's when I began to respect him as a person, as an actor, because I was like, wow, this guy, and if you watch the behind the scenes on that movie, I mean, And obviously you see him now. I mean, he does everything, right? And he's Tom Cruise, man. So, but that's why he's Tom Cruise. And I just, again, man, it's crazy how movies and people can inspire. And that's really the overall approach or message that I try to do, with my work, is that I want people to, I try to put something in there for everybody, and I want people to be inspired and, to kind of have those feelings, because I feel like that's kind of what's missing in a lot of movies today, or, with a lot of the, just with everything going on, man. The world moves so fast. It's like, I feel like if we were all just to kind of slow it down, and if everyone could see in slow motion just for a little bit, maybe, I don't know. I feel like maybe we'd be a little more inspired.
Well, I will say this: Mission Impossible 2 has definitely grown on me over the years. I've done some rewatches of it, so much so to the point where one night I was watching it on DVD and I realized, man, this movie's really good. I got to upgrade this to a Blu-ray. And then I went to my mom and pop
Yeah.
place, found a Blu-ray copy of it. I got it for a reasonable amount of money. I'm like, yeah, I'm good now, man. I got MI2 on DVD and Blu-ray, so whatever format I want to watch it on, I'm there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like Mission Impossible 2. A lot of people don't, put it on the lower end. If not, they rank it like
Yeah.
dead last within the Mission Impossible movie rankings. But at the same time, it's fun, it's different, and
Yeah.
you got the music, and you got the style
Yes.
and flair of John Woo, and
Yes.
Cruise is just roaming around wearing black trench coats and laying the smack down and wearing
Yeah,
shades.
dude.
He's
I
he,
think
you
it's
know,
just, it was so simple. That story, out of all the Mission Impossibles, to me, that one was the most simple.
it's a good one.
And that's one of the reasons why I liked it. And you
Yeah.
brought up the music. That was kind of my introduction when I wanted to know who did that score. And that was my introduction to Hans Zimmer. And dude, again, you have all these people together, and that's another thing that's just so awesome about today and about what we're doing now, is that we're all our own, we're lone wolves in what we do, but if we all just kind of came together a little bit more, you're good at what you do, I'm good at what I do, it's like bringing them together. I mean, we make something even bigger. And that's, to me, that's what makes those movies so special. There's so many amazing super people involved. And wow, man, it's again, man, I'm glad that I got to. I think I saw that one, Mission Impossible 2. I think I saw it 6 times in the theater, just because I kept going back and going back and going back. And yeah, man, so it was just inspiring, dude. It's crazy.
Man, I'm jello. I wish I could have seen that baby in theaters. I didn't see it so long after the fact. I think the first Mission Impossible movie I ever saw in theaters was MI3 in 2006.
Oh, right on, man. Right on.
That was a
That's
great
cool,
one.
man.
That's actually my favorite because the villain is perfect in that movie. Philip Seymour
Yeah.
Hoffman, by the way, rest in
Seymour,
peace,
yeah,
Philip Seymour
yeah,
Hoffman.
man. He's a
But
great
that
actor,
movie
man.
is great because it has the best plot. It has the best villain. It has the threats are so real in that movie. Like, you just believe what's happening in the scene. And by the way, this is a minor spoiler if you haven't seen Mission Impossible 3. The first 5 minutes of that movie is Ethan Hunt being tied to a chair
Yep.
with his fiance seated right across from him, also taped to a chair, and you got Philip Seymour Hoffman saying, "I'm looking for something. Where is it?" And then he has the gun pointed
Yeah.
at his wife's head. It's crazy, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, we're at the end of the movie. Like, what is going on?" It's insanity times a
Yeah.
billion. But if you haven't seen Mission Impossible 3, heck, if you haven't seen any of those movies, sit down, plant yourself, get a bucket of popcorn, get a soda, whatever it is that you like. Watch those movies. You'll enjoy the living heck out of them. And also, we hope that you are enjoying this episode of what is known as And I Quote on And I Quote channel with Super Chris Jones as our guest of honor. And don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Chris, drop them like it's hot in those comments, in the chat. We would love to hear from you. My gosh, we've run the gamut of all kinds of action movies, and I feel like we've only been here 2 minutes, even though it's been.
I know, man. It's tough, man. Oh man, yeah. It's hard to talk about everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a plethora. But you did mention something earlier, and I do believe that teamwork does make the dream work. With that being said,
Yes.
what in your mind are some of the biggest rewards about being an indie filmmaker, in your opinion?
For me, it's I always tell people I love the audience. If the audience, like, my favorite part of this whole, there's two things that I enjoy the most. Number one is, when I'm editing, because again, I never wanted to, I don't like I mean, if I had my choice, I would just do the acting part. That's all I want to do. But, the fact that I do, kind of go through everything, I love the editing because, whenever you're editing, it's like you're getting to experience the movie all by yourself with headphones. And it's like, it's almost like I'm going through another movie. Right. So I love that part of it. But my favorite part is when it's done. I always try to have like a little screening of some kind when it's done, and I always try to sit to the side or stand to the side, and I love, because by that time I've already seen the movie 1,000 times. I love hearing and watching the audience. I'm not even really watching the screen. I'm listening for the little moments that I try to put or tell. And if they react in that way or they react differently, that to me is what I think, that's the filmmaker in me. That's the success. That's the reward. Is like, wow, like you got to somebody, or you made somebody laugh, and so that to me, man, is just because again, I do it because I want people to experience or have a lot of the same feelings and emotions that I did when I was watching a lot of these movies. And I love like obviously having kids, I love that I get to share, or reshare some of these older movies with my daughters, and it's like it's just it's that feeling, man. That feeling that I feel that sometimes we miss nowadays because the world moves so fast. I want people to kind of experience some of that again, and so whenever I get a reaction that I want, or an unexpected reaction, it just that's the world, man. It's amazing.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. On the flip side of the coin, though, what are some of the biggest challenges about being an indie filmmaker?
Well, honestly, first and foremost, the biggest challenge for me is because since I want to be an actor, and I'm writing these stories, so that I can act in them, is always having someone to shoot my angle. That is the ultimate. That's the biggest challenge in the world. It's just because even if I do have someone, it's like I feel like I'm already you're critical of your own work or project, right? But I'm even more critical of myself because I'm having to think. I'm trying to act, but then I'm thinking like, are they getting the right shot? Are they holding it right? Are they, it's really hard to kind of let that go. And but I've had some awesome people, over the years helping me and everything. And sometimes maybe it's just me. I just need to relax a little bit. But that's the biggest challenge every single time. Everything else, I feel like I've just kind of, created my own little process and everything. And it's like, I feel like there's nothing else that can be harder because I know that those scenes are coming, and it's like I'm already thinking about them before, even if I'm trying to deal with another problem, because I know that that's going to be a bigger problem because I'm main character or whatever. I'm in a lot of scenes, so it's a lot of stress throughout the production before we even start.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
stress isn't always the best thing, but it happens to all of us. We all struggle
Exactly.
with stress. It happens every day of our life.
Exactly.
Sometimes it may happen twice on Sunday. But with that, what advice would you give to aspiring indie filmmakers out there?
The best advice is just, do it your way. Always do it your way. And if that means that you're taking inspiration and process from different people, molding it into your own, whatever it is, do how it. I mean, I feel like we all, nobody knows yourself more than yourself, and so you need to do it your way, and everything, is going to be okay. There's an audience out there for all of us, and consistency. That's just big. You need to do it, even if you can't. I feel like a lot of up and coming people, or even just the generation today, everybody wants things like right now. They want that feeling, they want that reward like now, and it's patience, consistency. Just keep at it, even if you're only doing it a couple minutes a day or an hour a week or whatever it is. That you're still a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, don't worry about whatever they think the norm is. Like, to me, in production, there is no right or wrong way. There is no right answer. Just do it your way. Everybody does things a little different. And that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you special. And it'll come across that way and in your production. So, do it your way and don't stop. Keep doing it. Doesn't matter, 1 day, 2 days, every day, whatever you can do it. And when I started, before I even had a camera, I had this in the bathroom. I had this, all the bathrooms have a mirror, but for some reason I had a skyline that was right over the mirror, and the lighting was always kind of cool and dramatic. And I would always just like rehearse my favorite movie lines in that mirror. And so I would tell people, hey, even if you're doing it in front of I wasn't telling them that I was doing it at the time, but that was my advice. I was like, even if you're just looking in the mirror and you're just reciting lines, you're an actor. Just do it. And so that was my way of reminding myself all the time, like, hey, just even if I'm doing this, I'm still acting. So
Wise words from a very wise man known as Super Chris Jones on this episode of And I Quote. We are here with indie filmmakers. Walker. Chris Jones, don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for Chris, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you're joining us live or on the replay, we thank you for being here. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, I do want to bring your attention to a little something here. So, Save Me. How did this come about, and what is Save Me? What is it about?
So Save Me was kind of like my first, or I mean, it's technically it's my second film, but it was the first time that I was very confident with everything that I knew, with everything that I could do, lighting wise, production wise, and it was, it was the first time that I was producing something that also kind of delivered a message. Growing up, I saw a lot of domestic violence, growing up, and knew a lot of people that went through it. And I just thought, hey, well, it kind of clicked. Okay, so I'm doing stuff to entertain. I'm doing stuff, movies that I enjoy, but I also want to be able to, I want it to be more. I want it to have a message. And I feel like domestic violence, to me, domestic violence is really the source of every crime, the source of every terrible thing in this world. I really feel like everything starts, from the beginning in the home. Not everybody, but I'm just saying, like it's there's always something there, and I feel like it's something that always gets, it's never really, people don't pay attention to it because it's everywhere. And I feel like, people kind of just wait for the bomb to explode and then it's an issue. But I feel like there's a lot of things that we could do, that we could prevent, information that we could get. And so I thought, well, let me give my movie, a little bit of a, just a little bit of a message to it. And so Save Me was the first movie. It still has a hero feel to it. It's basically about a guy, a cop, who loses everything to domestic violence: his family, his wife. His wife has epilepsy because of the trauma she experienced as a kid. And so, just when things are perfect, she passes away, and it's devastating for him, and he's kind of tired of it. And he's when the movie begins, he's already left the force or whatever, but he's like, well, what could I do differently? And basically it's like, well, I'm going to take care of domestic violence on my own. So basically he's like trying to be a vigilante and kind of taking out people the way he wants to, and stopping the crimes that he feels are necessary. And so again, man, it's a bit of a, it's not a superhero movie, but it does have that, you know, um, element, of being a vigilante, and again, doing things your way. Because, if I could, I would take away the world's pain. If I knew how to do that, or if I could, I would totally do that. I feel like no one should have to suffer, especially in those ways. And so that Save Me was basically my big passion project. And it took me, I started the project almost, man, it was about a 10-year run, because I started it as a web series. That's when YouTube was a big thing. So I was like, oh, I'll do a web series and let people see me there. And we started doing that. But then after so long, I thought, I want to make it a movie. So we stopped, we made it a movie. And that process was about 4 years, man, 4 years of shooting, because I was trying to make every shot as perfect as I could. And near the end, that's when COVID hit. And I thought, well, it's not going to be that bad. And then of course it was. So then I thought, well, you know what, I'll just edit it as is. So the version that I have out, the version that you see, really is more of a, I'd say about a 95% version, because COVID hit. So I didn't get to finish the ending the way I wanted. But it was, I feel I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of everyone that was in it. And it was a long, process, and which inspired, my new project. So the whole domestic violence angle, it is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that I try to put in every film or production project, because I feel like, again, it's all about, we want to inspire people, and I also want to help those in need that probably don't even know they need that inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And so if we can put stuff out there for them, we can do that. And obviously I edited it, and during COVID, the only thing I could do was send it to festivals. So that's what I did. And it did really well. And I got a lot of great feedback, especially because of the domestic violence. I think when, we don't really think about it, but when you see it on screen, when you watch something, it does kind of trigger whatever's going on, whatever you've seen. And to me, I feel like that's a good, kind of a positive, slap in the face that, hey, like, wow, like this is, I went through that too, or I saw that, or so-and-so is going through that. And, I feel like it reminds people that, even the smallest ounce of domestic violence is still a crime.
Very true. Very true. There's been a lot of documentaries out there. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
made for TV movies about how big of an issue domestic violence still is all these years later. And also there's been, like I said before, made for TV movies on Lifetime, NBC,
Yes.
ABC Sunday Night Movies, whatever it is. And honestly, some of these stories are actually, some of the movies that have been made for TV movies are based on true stories of domestic violence and how it escalated and
Yes.
got really bad. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, like
It's tough, man.
if you're with somebody, whether you're married or not, you got to treat each other equally here. Like, you can't just beat up on someone. It's ridiculous. Like, no,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just can't do it. Like, it's just, it's sad of what these individuals are going through. But by the way, if you are suffering through what is known as domestic abuse, there are resources available to you out there. Please
Yes.
go to those sources. If you have to go to a shelter, do it. You got to protect yourself, protect your children. Please
Exactly.
do it. Domestic violence should not be tolerated. It's definitely wrong, 100%. So please protect yourself and the children around you if
Yes.
that situation does come up, for sure. But yeah, domestic violence, whew, man. I mean, it's been going on for many, many years, and unfortunately, it still happens.
Yeah, man. It's really sad, man. It's really sad. But at the same time, I feel like, again, a lot of this information,
Yes.
it's something that should be in schools. It's something, you shouldn't, that's kind of what this new movie that I'm working on is about. It's basically about the consequence, what happens when you get into trouble, things like that. And I feel like a lot of the programs and things that they have out there, sometimes they are given or they're court ordered or whatever. And I feel like, just like when you take a sexual education class or whatever, I feel like they should have a lot of these classes in high school, because I feel like it's something that we all need to learn early on and just be kind of reminded of that. It's not, you're not alone, and there is help out there, and you should take it if you need it, or you should reach out. You should say something. And so
Definitely.
that, again, man, that's really what we're doing. And it's awesome, man. It's cool. And again, there's so many like, just like right now we're talking about it. It's like, we can talk about movies and heroes or whatever, but for some reason domestic violence, it always sparks up a conversation. And random people have kind of come up to me, and it's been like that for years, where they'll just be like, can I tell you my story? And it's like, and it's just, I'm not a therapist or any kind of licensed person or whatever, but again, I think people sometimes just need a little nudge to speak up and say something. And there's so much going on in the world, on social media, whatever. And yeah, and it's I feel like domestic violence is still one of those things where it's still kind of, it's, people are very hesitant or scared, or you know what I mean. And they should really get help if they need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely reach out to the resources and definitely discuss it. And if you see something, say something when it comes to domestic violence.
Exactly.
100%. And by the way, congratulations on Save Me. I noticed on the picture that we showed, the person maybe watching or listening, it's got a lot of accolades, man. Like, geez.
Yeah, I went crazy, man. I had submitted to so many festivals. I mean, and of course, there's a lot that I didn't get into. But again, I feel like a lot of people, just I mean, they would say that it was because of domestic violence, but hopefully there were other reasons too, right? But it was really neat, man, and it just kind of started hitting it, and we were just winning all these little awards and stuff. And there were festivals from like all over the world. And I think it also, COVID kind of helped motivate that too, because everybody was just trying to stay in it, trying to stay busy, trying to stay creative. And so it was real. I think it was just timing. It was good timing. So even though maybe I didn't get to finish things the way I had wanted, it still got, an audience. It still got a little bit of play, because, and from people outside of, where I live, maybe, and we were able to do that. And I think that's what kind of opened up all of this even more, because we all just started reaching out. Right. And so, man, I feel like if anything, that movie just kind of opened me up, it opened my eyes to like, wow, like, we can, social media, you know what I mean? YouTube, film festivals, whatever it is, it's like, we really can do a lot with what we have, and, with whatever situation that we have. And so, again, man, I feel like I'm learning all the time. So this isn't just because, oh, I want people to see this and learn this or whatever. I mean, I'm still learning too. So it's big thanks to everybody because it opened me up more. And it made me realize that, hey, I can always do something a little bit bigger, a little bit better. And yeah, man, that's how I'm going to continue to do that.
Well, we hope the person who may be watching or listening to this is learning something new on this episode of And I Quote with Chris Jones, indie filmmaker. Don't forget to like and share this when you know. If you have any questions for Chris, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're more than happy to hear from you. For watching, once again, you're watching this live or on the replay. We appreciate you being here. So you kind of teased it a moment ago. So let's talk about this. 22 weeks. That's a long time for some people. 22 weeks feels like 23 years. So what exactly? 22 weeks. What is this going to be all about? When can we expect to see this?
So 22 weeks, another thing, just, real quick, because of COVID, mainly because of COVID and all the isolation that we've all had, over the last couple of years. And, COVID didn't really affect me until the second year. And so I feel like, to this day, I'm still recovering in a lot of ways, but it also forced me to kind of perfect a lot of my skills and practice. And, I feel like I've gotten a whole lot, better, faster with myself. And it's like, I could really make a movie, this way or that way, and do it in a short amount of time. It's not going to take me 4 years this time, right? So this was something that I had wrote during COVID, and it's not a sequel or anything to save me, but it's definitely the second domestic film that in this kind of domestic world that I've created. And basically 22 weeks is it's the length of this domestic program. Basically, it's about a group of guys who get sentenced to a domestic class, and it's 22 weeks. They got to go every week for 22 weeks. And obviously, when we think about domestic violence, normally it's most of the time it's a female who's getting abused by a male, and we have that. And what happens is that the teacher who is supposed to be helping us and setting the example, she's actually the one that's going through the domestic situation. And eventually we all get involved, and we end up kind of having to fight our way, fight for our lives to kind of help her. So it's kind of a mix. I tell people it's kind of a mix of, Double Jeopardy with Ashley Judd. You got the whole domestic relationship drama, and then meets Die Hard, where we're all kind of stuck in this one place trying to get out alive.
Well, as long as you have the line, do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy? And then he drops the yippee-ki-yay so-and-so. If you drop that line in the movie, I'll be your best friend for life. No, I'm kidding.
That's funny. Yes, I just posted that short. That's funny, man.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, for Christmas I posted that one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did. I think it. Yeah, popped up on my social media. You shared it with me through the DMs. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. No, it was really cool, man. It was really cool. But yeah, it's a I feel like this one's a little more grounded. Yes. Because it's something that I really feel that could happen anywhere. And of course, we're still gonna have our action, and we're still gonna entertain. But a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing, I'm hoping that it's information that people will be like, wow, like I never thought about it that way. And the message, the overall message for this one, male or female, is accountability. The decisions that we make. Even if we are the victim, sometimes there are decisions, things that we could have done, or things that we knew early on. Prevention. And I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. I'm saying that we all have our moments, and that I feel like we can all do things to try and help prevent these situations. You know what I mean? And I really hope that they can. How about that? I'm not saying that it will. I'm just saying that I'm hoping that people we all make decisions, man, and we all make mistakes sometimes. And I feel like if we all kind of learn to be a little bit more accountable for just the things that we do just by ourselves, even growing up, before we even get into relationships and all that kind of stuff, I feel like that'll help us later in life, so that when we're presented with a situation or a negative situation, we'll handle it better, we'll do better. And if anything, hopefully that would help people. So or help others, everybody, because that's the thing with domestic violence. It's what a lot of people sometimes forget, is that it's not just the one person that it affects. You're affecting a lot of people around you. And it's yeah, man, we can go on and on about this all day, but it's just, if anything, the overall message is just accountability, what I'm saying, and reminding people that choices, sometimes we can see things or make choices beforehand, and hopefully it would prevent any kind of crazy, dangerous domestic situation.
Well put. Well put. Now, with film festivals and other events that are out there, whether it's in the state of Texas or wherever it may be in the world, have there been any special memories for you from being at film festivals or conventions, if you know what I mean? Whether you're there as a vendor or there as an attendee that stand out to you?
Um, yeah, there's a lot of moments. I'm trying to think of like one specific. My favorite moment, was when this was back in '07. I had actually completed my first feature, and same thing. It wasn't even. That's why I tell you, Save Me's my second, but my first one. It was the first time where I said, I'm gonna create something. I'm gonna have my own music theme, like the '80s and '90s movies, and I'm gonna show it in a theater. And this was in 2007, and for El Paso, it was something that just nobody did. And when we did that, I mean, we had like over 500 people show up. I mean, again, I was listening to the audience. Again, it's that audience reaction, the audience feel. And for me at that time, 2007, I think I was like 25, something like that, 26. And, it was just the best feeling in the world, man. So that's number one. And then of course, number two is meeting the cast of Smallville. So I feel like those are the two biggest moments that I've had, where where I was starstruck just by the people, obviously by my celebrity heroes, and I think those were the two biggest moments of my time.
Awesome. Well, it's funny you mentioned 2007 because that's when season 7 of Smallville debuted with the debut of Supergirl. So,
Dude, and again, I didn't start watching Smallville until 2010, I think, or
oh, final
2011.
season.
Yeah, because I was a bit. That's the thing about me, and it's a mistake that I'll admit
Yeah, you're
anytime.
late to the party.
I was all about movies. I hated TV shows because I thought it's TV. I'm a movie guy. And people would tell me all the time, you got to watch Smallville and you're going to love it. It's Superman. And I'm like, get away from me, just whatever. And, kind of what it all, Smallville, it all kind of ties everything in together, the movie, the domestic violence, all that stuff, because, Superman was always the biggest hero, right? But it wasn't really like a passion of mine until I watched Smallville, because when Smallville came around, as an indie artist, as a struggling artist, I mean, it was the point of my life where I hit rock bottom for the first time. I mean, it just everything gone, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember I was so all I had was like this little laptop. That's how I was watching my movies. And a friend of mine kept telling me, Chris, you got to watch Smallville. You're gonna love it. So fine, whatever. I had nothing else to watch. I had no money, nothing. And I thought, you know what? Fine. It's a Superman thing. I'll watch it. And that was actually my introduction or my revelation of Clark Kent, as a person, as a character, because, Christopher Reeve is my favorite Superman. He did Clark amazing, but we never got to see Clark before that, right? And so, with Smallville, you get to see him growing up and see that, he was technically raised on or born in, or not born, but raised on Earth. So, even though he had superpowers, he still had to go through all the trials that we do. And it reminded me that, even a superhero, can be down, even a superhero can struggle. And if anything, their struggles are bigger because they are a superhero and they're having to kind of hide that, from the world. And, they're trying to be the example or whatever, right? And that's when it hit me. And I thought, you know what? It's okay. Like, it's okay to feel what I'm feeling. It's okay to be who I am. It's okay to be in the situation that I'm in. And it's okay to have everything that I have and everything. It's okay to be myself. There you go. And so immediately I was hooked. So Smallville is my favorite show of all time. But it was also kind of I feel like Smallville found me. And I feel like it was the turning point for everything in my life. And the quote, if people go to my channel, my page, whatever, it's my, I believe in my friends and their dreams. And I've been using that same quote since 2010, 11. And, I got it from Smallville. And because I really do believe in everybody. And I hope that everybody, I feel like if we all just continue to be ourselves, yourself, we will, the world will be a better place, man. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like if anything, regardless of whatever I believed in and whatever I've done up until then, Smallville is kind of what brought it together. And because, if you watch these episodes, they're like little movies, within them, they're like mini movies, right? And so, again, I got to hear a lot of the songs that I would use. I got to hear they use a lot of mainstream songs. And, at the time I had these fantasies of like, I wish I could use this song, or I wish I could use a Linkin Park song, whatever. And you hear all that in Smallville. And I thought, this is a TV show, not a movie, right? So again, it was just another revelation where I thought, you know what, I got to do this my way and just do everything the way I've always wanted. And, of course, we still have to face life and still got to do what we got to do. But, it's just kind of what, being Clark Kent is okay. You know what I'm saying? And, you can be Superman when it's time or whatever. But, Clark is cool.
Oh my goodness. For the person who may be watching or listening to this, if you can't tell, I got this huge smile on my face because once again, this is And I Quote with indie filmmaker Chris Jones. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you're watching this live on a replay, we thank you for being here. But the reason I have this big smile on my face is because one of the things that brought Chris and I together, a little behind the scenes story here for you real quick. I was scrolling across social media one day and I found his page, and then I found out he was a big Superman fan. And then I found out he was a big Smallville fan, which is the TV series he was just mentioning here just a moment ago on this very program. And I realized, okay, I got to talk to this guy. Like, I don't know what, like, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what, like, why does he like this character so much? I gotta know. I gotta know. So we started talking. We exchanged messages here and there, and then all of a sudden, you can go back. This episode of The Meaning of Phantom, which is a series that we do here on this very channel, And I Quote channel. We did The Meaning of Phantom. Chris was one of our guests for that particular panel that night. You can go back and watch. I believe it was episode 4, so you can go back and watch that. And the moment he started, he and I just started talking and exchanging messages. I thought, this guy's good. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, and he has this drive about him. He has this drive. He has this passion for whatever he's doing. And listen, I respect anybody who has a passion for what they do, or if they love what they're doing and they keep doing it until they can't do it anymore. I respect people like that. So that's one of the reasons Chris and I we're simpatico here. It's just, we even shop in the same store. We're wearing the same kind of shirts. We speak the same super language. It's just there. It's just there. If you want to call it a bromance, go ahead. I don't care. But Chris, I respect the heck out of you. I admire what you're doing.
You,
I wish you and your cast and your entire crew nothing but success with whatever that you're doing, because if you love what you do, it's not called work. And if you love what you do and you work together as a team, you can do much. That's just a fact of life. If you work with a group of people who share the same amount of energy and passion that you do, honestly, you can go, you know what they say, right? The sky's the limit. Literally, the sky's the limit. And I appreciate you sharing those words about, whether it's the film festivals and Smallville, because yes, Smallville's my #1 favorite show. I think it's one of the reasons why Chris and I we're simpatico here. So great show. If you've never seen it, don't know what it is, look it up. It's on Hulu. It's on streaming services. Watch the show. It's really good. Basically, if you want to know more about the character of Clark Kent and you've never heard of him before, watch the show. It's an origin story. It's a beginner story. Exactly. It's what do you call it? It's an entry point for someone who's not familiar with DC Comicsology, if you will, DC Comics. And if you're not familiar with Clark Kent or Superman, it's the perfect entry point for anybody who's curious about this character. And yes, Clark Kent is more relatable than people think. So,
exactly. And that's the thing too, is that he's both. And again, but it's a lesson that I learned too. It's a lesson that I was like, wow, but that made me, I feel like if anything, that just made me believe in what I believe in even more, and just, made me be myself. And I wouldn't, if you had met me, 10 years ago, I wouldn't be sharing all this, fan, nerd stuff, yeah, man. And even collecting, I've been collecting little things now for Smallville. I would have never have done that because I just thought that's just, that's just me when I'm watching my shows or whatever. That's your guy time. Right. But dude, like now I don't care. I'll put it out there. I'm 42. I'm about to turn 43. And I just I don't care, man. I'm going to show, I just want to be myself. And I want people, to know, if they want to know me, it's everywhere. It's cool.
Yeah, it's on social media. You can follow him. The links to where you can follow Super Chris Jones are located in the description of this episode of And I Quote. So make sure you check out those links and follow this kind gentleman, because he's doing some great things, and you're destined for greatness. So with that with that being said, I do want to let you know something here, Chris. That this episode and every episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by our good friends at Poddex. Now get this, Poddex our unique interview questions, as well as episode starting prompts located in the palm of your very own hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster, to be a little bit more specific, looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com and use the code Ryan10. That's RYAN10, Ryan10, for 10% off your first order. So check out our good friends over there at poddex.com. Poddex wants to know, what antiquated invention do you still use, Chris?
Oh man, well, everything that I own is old. I mean, my camera is turning 15. My computer is turning 15. My this little theater, my little TV and DVD player is, I think it's 12 or 13. And I just it's not that I don't want to buy new ones. It's just that I've always, when it comes to my personal stuff, like my Smallville collections and stuff, it's like I really try to take care of it. And once I have something and I love something, I keep it and I enjoy it, and I don't want to give it up until it dies, until it crashes. So I will, even if I have to put little band-aids on it, whatever, man, I will keep it alive as long as I can. So I feel like my biggest treasures, they're all antiques, man. And a lot of people all the time, they'll tell me, hey, how come you don't buy a new one or buy this or buy that? And it's just because, again, man, it's who I am. It's me. And again, I'll use it as long as I can.
Well, if it keeps a licking, it keeps on ticking. Keep using it. It's like that old Rolex
Yeah,
commercial or whatever the heck it was. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, geez, my goodness, like Frankenstein's monster, it's alive.
yeah, dude, it's
It
awesome, man.
works.
I think I'm probably gonna cry when these things break down. You know what I'm saying? But again, but also too, just kind of as
Yeah.
a positive thing, I feel like, what, these things, if they're alive after all this time and they're doing what they're doing, even though they're machines, it's like, hey man, I gotta keep going. I can't stop, because I feel like it's waiting for me to finish. And yeah. So
The train keeps on rolling, man. Just keeps on
yeah, I even
rolling.
had a scare. I had a
Yeah.
little short film, and I was shooting in a lake, in an actual lake, and I was in the middle of the lake, and a big wave hit me, went through my whole camera. My
Ooh.
camera was out, and I just, we put it in rice and everything. It was a big scare, man. And I thought, what, it's over. I guess I'm done, and I can't afford a new camera right now. But a week later, turned on, and it's been running since. Yeah, dude.
Thank goodness. Well, the wheels keep on turning, as they say. So let those things keep rolling, as another person might say. But Poddex
Yeah.
is curious though. If you were musically inclined, who would you want to have a private jam session with?
Wow. Music wise, well, I mean, my all time favorite is music wise is Michael Jackson. He's like my favorite artist of all time. I do love Linkin Park, and you know what? It's so funny because I was never a rock person, and Linkin Park was technically the first rock group that I ever, or alternative group that I ever loved. And a friend of mine had told me, "Hey, I want to take you to a concert. You need to go to a concert." I'd never even been to a concert before, and I was just, I could not go. I was working, whatever, and she called me, and she's like screaming on the phone because my favorite song's playing, and she's like, "Look," and she's in, "Can you hear him? Can you hear him?" And I was like devastated. Well, I would say like maybe a week or so afterwards was when he passed away, and I was like, wow, and so when Michael passed away, the dream was to go to a concert of his one day, but that's why I was waiting. I was like, if I'm gonna go to a concert, I'm gonna go to a Michael Jackson concert. And of course, that never happened. And when he passed, they did his last concert, the This Is It. They made it a theater premiere. So if anything, that was my dream. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to be the first one in line, and I'm going to sit where I want to sit. And I ended up, I mean, it's El Paso, so I didn't have to get there too early, but I think I was there for like 4 hours. I was sitting by myself, in front of the theater door, whatever. And I was first in line, and I got to enjoy it. And it was, again, man, I know it's not a concert, but it was a pretty epic moment, man.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Yeah, I remember going to see that documentary / footage with my
Yeah,
aunt at the time. Yeah, I mean, my favorite Michael Jackson song has always been "Beat It." So when "Beat It"
nice.
came on, he had those dancers coming out, and he had, they were working on the choreography and working on the music. It was a rehearsal and everything. I'm
Yes.
like, geez, this guy is like 50. He's still got it. Still got it.
Yeah.
He's got the voice. He's got the moves. He's telling the drummers, like, you got to do it like this. You got to do it like this. And he's looking at the dancers like, okay, okay. Like everyone has to be like that. It's magic. It's magic.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he just, yeah, it was, I mean, again, it was just legendary person, man, legendary character. And I love all kinds of music, but that was my first music inspiration as a kid was Michael Jackson. Yeah.
What's your favorite Michael Jackson song?
My favorite is "They Don't Care About Us." I love that song. And again, the first time I heard it and everything, and it was when that album came out. I mean, every time he had an album, it was an event.
Hmm.
But "Beat It" is it's that's one of that's my favorite song as well. And I mean, there's so many favorites, but
There's a lot.
I don't know. There's something I think because he was going through all his stuff at the time, and when you hear that song, that whole album, the History album, I
Mhm.
just felt like he was really trying to. Again, he was wanting to say what he couldn't, in public or as a human being. So he was putting it in his art, and I really feel like the History album was really passionate, and he was really, he was hurting, he was angry, and that's why that album to me is feels really good. And They Don't Care About Us. I really like that song a lot, man. It's my daughter's favorite too. So we just it's yeah, dude, it's a whole other thing. There's a new documentary that just came out on him. It's called I think it's called Thriller 40. It's
Oh,
basically 40 years. And dude, it's a Showtime documentary. It was
oh,
really cool, man. Really good, really interesting.
I got to
Yeah.
go back and
And then
watch that.
they got the new Superman documentary coming out, man. Christopher Reeve.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, his kids right now are touring, dude. I didn't even know he had his the kids. I thought he had like one kid, but I think he's got like three,
Yeah.
and they're doing. There's all these interviews on them right now, and you can. It's funny, like his son and his daughter. I mean, they all kind of have his frame. Like it's so cool. Like you can
Oh,
see the Reeve in them, and they're the ones that are promoting it. They basically teamed up with the production team, and they made a documentary about him. And they're it's in the I guess in the film festival, Sundance or whatever. And I can't wait to see it.
yeah. I did not know about this. I'm going to have
Yeah.
to watch this when it becomes available to the public as well. My gosh, man.
Yes, sir, man. Yeah, man.
Documentaries.
I just found out about it.
Got to sit down and what do you call it, binge watch these things. But I hope you're binge watching more episodes of And I Quote after this one with Super Chris Jones. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you got any questions for Chris, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. This is your first time here and you're watching this live on a replay. Welcome and thank you for being with us. Poddex is curious though. What words or word do you always struggle to spell correctly?
What word or words do I struggle to spell
Spell correctly
correctly?
is what it's asking.
Wow. It's so funny. My name, because but in a typing sense, whenever I'm
Oh,
typing my name, I always misspell it for some reason.
mhm.
If you watch my first film, my credits, my name is the only name that's misspelled. For some reason, Christopher, when I'm typing my hands, it always messes up the P and the H. I always reverse it. And I think it's because in my head, I don't know. It's for some reason that's always the word that I misspell constantly.
Wow. Man, who'd have thunk, right? I
Right?
spelled my own name wrong. I spelled Jerry with an E and an I. Anyway, that's a line from Seinfeld. I digress. Who is the best female role model in your life right now?
Wow. The best female role model.
Hmm.
Are we talking movie or just
No, it could be
anybody?
anybody. Out in the
Uh,
movie industry or outside of the movie industry. It could be a real life person, could be a family member, a friend, whatever.
I think right now the best, my role models right now are my two daughters. My oldest, she's already, living her own life and everything. But I think as a parent, regardless of what we go through, and even today, I'm still struggling, whatever it is, to see them and to know that they're in a better place than what I was at their age, that to me is amazing. And for them to know, a little bit about my story or whatever. And my youngest now, Sam, she's seen everything. And for her to be doing as well as she's doing and the things that we share and everything, like that's, to me, she's my role model. Because even at that age, she's 16 now, and it's like, I compare her to most of the 16-year-olds out there, and it's so different. You know what I mean? And I feel like we can really be whoever we want to be. We just got to be it. And so for them to be who they are today, that's my inspiration. That's like, hey, that's why I got to take care of myself. That's why I got to fulfill. And it's like I want to be that example for them. They're already being the example for me without me even telling them. So I got to continue to be the example, or try to be the example for them. And regardless of whatever's happened in the past, it's like, hey, I gotta, I want their forever, if when they ask who their role models are, I would love to be on that list, just because we are who we are.
Well, they say behind every great super dad, there are great super daughters. So
Yes.
There you go, man. Rock on. Congratulations to both your daughters, and I wish them nothing
Thank
but
you, man.
success moving forward. Please tell them I wish them well. But if you were going on what is known as a road trip, what are the 3 must-haves you couldn't leave without? 3 specific items.
3 must-haves that I cannot live without.
Yeah,
Um,
on a road trip.
CDs, because I still make CDs to this day.
Same
I have
here.
them
I
in my
still got
car.
CDs
Yeah.
in my car.
So CDs is a must. Diet Dr. Pepper, that's like my new, or this is my one and only vice. And let me see, Diet Dr. Pepper, CDs, and wow. And I guess my protein shakes, man. I gotta have protein. I try to have a little bit of a physical routine, and keeping up the protein is probably like the hardest thing to, to always, make, because any we can all buy chips and candies and all kinds of stuff, but for me it's more about the protein. So just making sure that I have that with me at all times, because I do, when you get into that, to some kind of a physical routine or whatever, I finally understand what the whole hangry means, right? Because before I could go hours, or not eat at all, or eat a lot or whatever, but now, like, if I don't get my protein within a specific window, like, you get headaches, you feel a little agitated sometimes, and it's like, what, just move, I need to eat. So yeah, protein, Diet Dr. Pepper, and CDs.
Well, number 2, they was free. I must have drank myself 15 Dr. Peppers. That's that's a that's a Tom Hanksism from Forrest Gump, which, by the way, that movie turns 30 later this year, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So does some of your favorite 80s films, such as Johnny Depp's debut appearance in Nightmare on Elm Street turns the big 4-0 later this year, which is insane.
Yeah,
I know.
man. Wes Craven, you know what, he's a really great director. Wes Craven, man.
Was.
Yeah.
He was. Great guy. Nightmare on Elm
Yeah.
Street. I don't know if you saw this movie of his. Did you ever see Red Eye with Rachel McAdams and
Yep.
Cillian Murphy?
Yep. I love that movie. Yeah. I love Rachel McAdams, man. I love her acting.
I mean, it's Rachel McAdams. I mean,
Mhm.
who doesn't like Rachel McAdams? Like one of those age-old questions. How can you not like her, honestly? And don't give me the whole excuse of, oh, The Notebook is so. No, The Notebook's a good film. It's
Yeah.
good. I like that one.
Well,
I mean, a lot
and
of
you know
people
why I
throw it
couldn't
under the
get to like, I have so much respect for Ryan Gosling, all his
bus. Yeah,
movies. The only reason I couldn't get into the note, because the Notebook was a thing, right? That was like
it's
a everybody.
huge.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
everywhere.
Well, the only reason I couldn't get into it is because Ryan Gosling, my introduction to him
Yeah.
was in Murder by Numbers, where he plays the little
Oh
psycho serial
man, with
killer
Sandy B, with
with
Sandra
Sandra
Bullock.
Bullock.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. So I have that movie memorized, and I always see him as that kid.
That
So
creepy
now, I mean,
kid.
nowadays, I see him differently, but it's like I could not see him in the Notebook. I couldn't take him seriously because of Murder by Numbers.
Oh my gosh, Murder by Numbers. That's a throwback, man.
It's an awesome movie, man. I love that movie, man.
Sandra Bullock. I think I have that on DVD, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't I get that one time at a mom and pop place? I may have done
Yeah,
that. I can't remember. I
I
may
think I
still
have it
have
on
it.
DVD. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I have it on DVD somewhere. I have to see if I still have it. I can't remember if I still have it or not. I apologize. But outside of Murder by Numbers, which, by the way, we don't condone murder. But anyway, that's just a movie with
right.
Sandra Bullock if you ever want to go back and watch. I think it came out in the mid 2000s. So
Yes, yes.
feel free to look it up. Ryan Gosling, early appearances of him and another young up and coming actor at the time. I can't remember his name, but he was in another
Yeah,
big
he's
movie.
good too, man. He's really good.
Yeah, I can't remember what other movie he was in, but he was in something else that was a really big thing for its time. But hey, listen, outside of the craziness of what is known as trivia when it comes to movies, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of And I Quote. Chris, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Chris Jones for being our guest on this episode of And I Quote. This has been a lot of fun, and also it's been super, if you know what I mean. So Chris, if someone is watching or listening to this and they want to find out more about you and the incredible things that you and your creative team are doing, where can they find you?
Right now, man, YouTube is my big thing. As I share everything I like about Smallville and Superman and my movies. And you can find me at Super Chris Jones, and everything is that, Facebook, Instagram. I'm sharing a lot more of my reels and stuff on Instagram too. And I was always bad with social media, so I'm trying to get better at it, guys. But YouTube, and I would really appreciate you watch and rewatch, and just comment. I try to answer everybody's comments. I try to get to everybody.
Fantastic. Well, we thank you for being here, Chris. Congratulations on all your work, and we wish you and your team over there the best of luck with the new film. 22 weeks.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's intense. 22 weeks feels like 22 years. But anyway, it may feel differently once we watch the film. I don't know. But Chris, thank you once again for being here. I'm going to talk to you here and again in just a moment here. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. Don't forget to follow us on all forms of social media. Links to where you can follow Chris Jones are located in the description below. So make sure you follow him and all the incredible things that him and his creative team are doing with their latest project known as 22 Weeks. More information will be coming out about that in the coming weeks and months. I know I just said weeks. I feel like I'm going to be saying the word weeks a lot. I don't know why. Chris, I blame you. It's your fault. But for those of you wondering, we're also this close to hitting the magical number of 1,000 subscribers. 1,000, Chris. We're this close. Once we do, we're going to throw a great big live stream celebration. It's going to include returning guests such as Chris Jones and many, many others, and surprise guests and special giveaways that you, the person who may be watching or listening to this episode, are going to be eligible to win, including 11 by 17 prints provided by the art of John Pinto. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, look at this. You can end up winning this and putting this on your wall or your office space or whatever it may be. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you can walk away with this featuring the character of Darth Vader. We got plenty more prints where that came from. Also, you can support the show by our Buy Me a Coffee link. It's in the description. It's on our social media. We like pizza, so buy us a pizza. Why don't you support the show? Spare a slice while supporting content creators such as myself and Chris, among others. Also, we got merch. We got shirts. We got hoodies. It is cold out there, folks. Treat yourself to some hoodies, some shirts, some hats. We also got stickers that you can put on your car or your tumblers or your water bottles. Chris, I'm sure you got plenty of tumblers laying around the house. You can put stickers on that bad boy. We got plenty of them, trust me. So check out all the links. They're in the description below. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode. Thank you once again to Chris Jones for being our guest. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified when our new videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when supporting indie content creators. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.